Christ is telling the disciples that they need to drink from the same cup that he is going to drink from. We see how the disciples had no clue about what was going on. They were willing to just spring up and shoot that arm right up and say, "Oh yeah, oh Jesus, I'll do it, no problem whatsoever." And Jesus had to say, "Whoa, stop. Are you sure you understand what I'm asking? Because I don't think you do." To a certain degree, how could they understand? They didn't fully know what was coming. They didn't know what was fully going to be required of them. And I think to this day, even though we may still, to a certain degree, we know what happened to Christ. We know that what does happen and can happen to Christians. We don't know what God and what this world holds in store for us personally. How could we? But God does. And God asks us the same question. God asks us to go out and step out on the same leap of faith that he asked the disciples to 2,000 years ago. He asked us to go out and sit here, and he asked us, we talked about how he asked us, and we need to be able to hold this cup. Before we just grab it and say, "Oh yes, Jesus, I'll drink from this cup," we need to hold it. And we need to look at it. And we need to realize, and we need to think and contemplate, what does holding this cup really mean? You see, we hold this cup so that we need to know. We need to really truly know, what am I getting ready to commit to? What is in store for me? Because as we read it in Matthew, this is also, he called it the cup of sorrow, the cup of bitterness. But it is also the cup of life. And that even in the midst of sorrow, even in the midst of bitterness, there is still joy. There is still happiness to be found. And after we hold the cup, we are to lift the cup. And we talked last week how lifting the cup, it was a symbol, it was an invitation for others. It was a declaration on both behalves. It was a declaration for the host to sit here and say, "I invite you to be a part of my community, to be a part of me. I'm opening up." It was an invitation. And in turn, we hold our cups up in return as an acknowledgement saying, we accept. We understand this as well. But to truly accept that invitation, to truly say, "I understand, I believe in you, I have faith in you." You remember last week we talked about how in Roman, and it would have been Greek and Roman times, poison was the biggest way for people to wipe out their enemies. And so they would poison their drink. And they would come in and they'd hold a toast. And they would wipe everybody out that they wanted to wipe out. But instead, in order to know that it was safe, the host would make sure that they saw that it was poured in their cup. And then they would hold it up as a declaration saying, "Look, it's safe. I'm inviting you into something that I'm willing to partake in myself." And then the host would drink from the cup. And he would ask others to drink. And you see, that drinking of the cup, that's us accepting that invitation. It was us accepting that invitation. We're walking through the door, we're saying, "Christ, we recognize, because we've held the cup, we recognize what you're calling us to. We know that this is not going to be an easy journey. We know it's not going to be an easy path. We know that there's going to be good times. We know there's going to be bad times. But even in the bad times, we recognize that you're going to be with us. You're going to be walking with us side by side in the valleys and in the shadows." We recognize the fact that even in the midst of that, there's going to be joy. That the sun does rise. There is a mountaintop. And we get an unbelievable joy at the same time. But we fully understand what we're signing our name to. How many of us have ever rushed in to signing a contract? And then you find out what the contract actually said? Because we didn't take the time to read it. and then we get mad at the people because we didn't take the time to read it. Now, I'm not going to say this. When they hand you 24 pages of print that's about yay big and say, here, I need you to sign this in the next 5 minutes. That's a But Christ is going, I don't want anything to be unknown to you. I'm being upfront. I'm being open. I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard at times. But oh, the rewards. The rewards are greater than you could ever possibly imagine. He's being upfront. He's being real with us. Because I said the disciples didn't understand this. I know we've read this 2 weeks before, but I just want to reread through this passage one more time. And maybe possibly each week this passage has taken on a new life, a new dynamic. Maybe there's something new that has stood out to you. So in Matthew chapter 20, starting in verse 20. Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor. What is your favor? He asked. And she replied, in your kingdom, please let my 2 sons sit in places of honor next to you. One on your right and the other on your left. But Jesus answered them by saying to them, and notice and I love this, notice he doesn't say to her. He says to them. You don't know what you are asking. And again, pay attention to the subtleties of things. The exclamation mark. You don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering that I'm about to drink from? Oh, yes, they replied. We are able. And Jesus told them, you will indeed drink from my bitter cup, but I have no right to say who will sit on my right or on my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones He has chosen. When the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant. They were upset. But Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers of this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must first become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many. This isn't a cup of lordship. This isn't a cup of authority. This is a cup of servanthood. It is a cup of slavery. Because we are saying, God, it's no longer about me. I understand that. It's not about me. It's about everybody else. You see, when Christ held that cup in his hand, that Last Supper, he drank from that cup. It wasn't for him. It wasn't what he was going to get out of it. It was about others and what he was going to give to others. He was sacrificing. He was serving. You could say he was a slave. That's what he's inviting us to. And when we finally now this week, as we sing and we're talking, it is now time. We've held the cup. We've thought about the cup. The host has lifted the cup. We said, Lord, now I accept what you're offering. I accept this covenant that this represents. And now I drink from the cup. Have you noticed, even in the world today, having a drink together with somebody is a sign of friendship, intimacy, peace. When you invite somebody in your home, what's one of the first things you usually ask them? Can I get you something to drink? Would you like a cold glass of water? Would you like some tea, some lemonade, some coffee? It's a sign of, as I said, it's a sign of friendship. It's intimacy. So we invite people to that all the time. Have you ever seen somebody angry at another person and ask them for a drink, sit down and have a drink with them? Not usually. Usually you're like, you know, I'm my house, I don't want anything. You know, it's just, you know, or even if it's not even to that degree and you just don't really, I just don't really care for them a whole lot. They kind of rub you the wrong way. You usually don't invite them to those types of things. You don't usually sit there and say, hey, I'd love to go out and get a cup of coffee with you sometime. We usually don't do that. You don't see someone angry, someone who dislikes somebody, drink with you. Think about it. If you've invited them and they don't want to be friends, they don't want a relationship with you, or you don't want a relationship with them, usually you bypass all the pleasantries, don't you? And let's just get straight down to business.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. I don't have time to chit-chat. Let's just get straight to the point. Could you imagine sitting down with God and us doing that with God, saying, God, I don't have time for the pleasantries. Let's just get down to business. Let's just forget this. Let's just get straight down to the brass tacks here, and let's get to business. Could you imagine your life knowing God and being in a covenant with God, but not having a relationship with Him? And I'm going to tell you, I think there's a lot of people in this world, I think there's a lot of people that declare and call themselves Christians that have missed out on this part. They have missed out on that part of the intimacy. They missed out on that relationship aspect. They just see God as this omnipotent power somewhere else, raining down over them, judging them, and they never see Him. We say about all that time, that good, good Father. They don't see Him as that loving, caring Father that wants to have a relationship with them. Even as much as they screw up, He wants to have a relationship with us. And the world doesn't see that because we skip over this part of things so often. And I think even there's times that we do it in the church and we're ready to do communion. And we go through the thing and we sing and we do the different things. But I wonder how many times do we rush through it? Do we really take the time to have the intimacy with God? See, we don't want to say, I'd rather just come straight to the point of my being here. Could you imagine saying that to God? Or do you want to sit there and say, God, I just want to be with you. I just want to just dwell in your presence. And to hear God say that to us, God's not saying, well, I need something from you. I need you to tithe. I need you to teach a Sunday school class. I need you to go out and tell more people about me so they can do the same thing. That's not, God wants those things from us, but that's not the primary thing He's wanting from us. Because remember, He's invited us into a relationship first and foremost. He's invited us into intimacy first and foremost. And it's because of that intimacy, because of that relationship, we do those things. But I believe we have a world that sits there and thinks, because, I don't know, maybe it's the way we presented it, or it's the way they've heard it, or the way they've seen it, or it's the way it's been twisted, but they see a God and they only want to get straight down to the business, and they go, I don't want to be used. I don't want that. And we don't want to refuse this drink, because refusing it is avoiding intimacy. And I can't help but wonder how many times in my life I've avoided intimacy with individuals because I just wanted to get straight down to business. I've done it. I've got going, I got so much on my calendar, I've got so much on my schedule, and I just need to avoid the pleasantries and avoid the intimacy, and let's just get straight down to business. I've been guilty of that. I think we've probably all been guilty of that at some point or another in our lives. We've been guilty of rushing along, just trying to get straight to the point. When we reach out to somebody and we're trying to win somebody to Christ, are we rushing the point? Are we trying to sit here and say, well, you just need to believe so I can move on to the next person? Or are we really trying to sit here and say, I want to really have a relationship with you. God wants to have a relationship with you. I want to have intimacy with you. God wants to have intimacy with you. I want to know things about you. I want you to know things about me. Because I'm inviting you into a relationship. Just remember, we are the hands, the feet, we are the face of God. And if we're not inviting people into relationships, we're not inviting them into intimacy, we're not inviting them into God's intimacy. We're not inviting them into God's relationship at the same time. They're linked together. Think about it. You think something feels very inviting if you were to walk in the door even and look at this one sitting there and say, you know what, Heaven will give you a drink. Here, guzzle this down real quick. Just guzzle it. Just pop it down. As fast as you can. You keep this moving. Or do you sit and say, hey, take your time. Have a sip. Have a big gulp. It does not matter. But it's not about, here, shoving it down their throat. See, drinking the cup of life. It's saying, this is my life. It's saying, I understand that this is going to be my life. But it's also saying, I want this to be my life. So there's a difference between saying, this is my life, and I want this to be my life. See, drinking, we're accepting that invitation means that we are fully accepting and owning our unique existence. We are owning it. We are accepting it and saying, God, I know I'm different than that person, and I know I'm different than that person, and they're different than me, and I understand that my joys and my sorrows are going to be completely different than theirs, and I understand I will have my own, but I am accepting all of it. I want this to be my life. Like I said, it says, I have held the cup. I understand the joys. And I know that I'm being invited. I know that it's being safe because you drank from it first and foremost. And look at you. And now I am publicly making the declaration that I accept this gift and all that comes with it. Not part, but all that comes with it. It's saying, you're not sitting there saying, well, I guess I'm going to try to make the best of it. That's all I'm doing is I'm making the best of life. It's the best I can do. I'm just going to, no. Drinking our cup is not simply adapting ourselves to a bad situation. Going, we are living in this world, so I'm just making the best of it. No, drinking from the cup, it's hopeful. It's courageous. It's self-confidence. It's all those things. It's a way of living. It's standing in a world with the head held upright. We are solidly rooted in the knowledge of who we are. And we're facing the reality that surrounds us. We're saying, here I am. This is who I am. This is what I've accepted. And I'm getting ready to take this on. But along with it, I'm also saying, I know who's beside me. And it's saying that I'm going to respond to these things in the world, not with hatred, not with disdain, not with like reaction back, but saying that I'm going to respond to it with my heart. The heart of God. The heart that dwells within me, that heart of Christ. Now, I'll have to admit, as I was doing my research, and I was kind of for this final step of drinking the cup, I came across a few different references that it said that, after we hold the cup, even after we've lifted the cup, that we should drink from the cup very slowly and carefully. Just with a sip. And I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of have a hard time with that. I can understand why somebody would say that. I can understand where they're coming at from it. But I'm one of those people, I'm sorry, I don't really see that. Because I think once you really, truly realize what you're drinking from, when you really, truly realize what you're being invited to, what you're being asked to partake in, the relationship, the intimacy, the good, the bad, the sorrows, the joy, the bitterness, the hope, that you drink it however you want to drink it. If you want to guzzle that thing down, guzzle that thing down. And you're going, oh, I can't wait to get it. I mean, you think about it, we should actually be going, I understand what this is. Yes, God, we're supposed to be celebrating. Yes. And you think about, what is our natural instinct after that? To go, oh, I took a sip. No! We want to gulp that thing down. We're going, yes, Lord. Yes. But I don't think we need to sit here and tell people, well, hold on, calm down. Calm down. You need to just drink from that cup a little bit. Moderation. I'm kind of going, I'm sorry, but our faith needs to be anything else but moderation. Our lives as Christians should be anything but moderation. We should be in it full force. Jump in. We should be sitting there going, you got a bigger cup? I need more. You got a bigger cup? We shouldn't be timid about accepting and drinking from this cup. Because remember, we talked a lot. This is a time that it's not, we don't hold up our cup. Christ didn't hold up his cup and go, all right, God, this is what you want. I guess I'll hold it up. I guess I will. No. What do we say? We plant our feet firmly. We hold our heads high. We look straight ahead. And we say, here we go. I'm taking this. I want this. Lord, give it to me. Manners. They've got to go out the window at that point in time. I mean, when you get done, you should be like wiping your face on your sleeve. Going, woo, that was refreshing. That was good stuff. I'm one of those people. I'm telling you, I'm one of those people. I'm going to guzzle that thing. This is the cup of life. We should be getting excited about it. Not going, well, there's just a little bit of it, so, make sure there's no refills. So you make sure you make this got to last. So we'll sip a little bit here and there. No! His cup runneth over. I picture this. It's like a person that's so excited about getting that present at Christmas. How many of us are so excited about getting it, and then we stop, go, and we start slowly peeling it open. Because you got to see the paper. We don't want to rip the paper, get holes in the paper. So we very carefully slice the tape. But we're so excited, I can't wait to get inside of here. I'm honest, how many people can be so excited about getting a present and then sit there and very carefully open it without ripping the paper or anything, because we don't want to get holes and rips in the paper. I'm sorry, there's not very many of us. We're so excited, we're going, rip that thing open, I got to get to it. And when we're looking at it from this point, I'm sorry to tell you, but the paper for this gift, it's already been ripped. It's got holes in it. It's in his hands and his feet and his side. Rip it. Open it. Accept the gift if you want. He said, I don't think it matters how you drink from the cup, as long as you drink from it. That's what God's looking for. It's not a one-size-fits-all. He's just wanting us to understand what we're drinking from, accepting it and drinking from it. I also believe that this is the cup of abundance. This is not a cup of stinginess. This is the cup of abundance. Grace is abundant. Do you see God going, I'm just going to give you a bit of grace? God gave us so much. He still gives us grace. He gives us so much more than what we need. And that, I'm sorry, but that's the very definition of grace. So much more than what we deserve. Grace is not a stingy mindset. Grace is all about abundance. Enjoy it. Accept it. I got to hear a couple of years ago, I got to go to a pastor's training. And I got to hear Dr. Fitzgerald. Now, he is our new head of theology and pastoral ministry programs at SNU. And he specifically took this time, and it was split between him and our new president, Dr. Newman. And Dr. Fitzgerald took this time to speak on communion and his theological beliefs of communion. And he shared some different things. One of the things that he also shared, and it was even John Wesley. John Wesley, which we just, we base our entire theology upon John Wesley's teachings. Well, not saying our entire, but a good chunk of it. John Wesley didn't just observe communion. He didn't just come in and go, all right, I'm going to have a little sip. That's observing. Let's face it, that's observing. It's sitting there coming in and just taking part of the ritual and just doing it. He celebrated it. He enjoyed it. You see, we do communion in remembrance of what Christ did. I mean, we have that wording on the front of our oath, do it in remembrance of Him. He said, do this in remembrance of me. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing that Christ did that was stingy. His entire ministry, his entire life, him sacrificing his life, that's as abundant as what it can be. Everything Christ did was in abundance. Scripture tells us, every instance, the wedding at Cana, it was about abundance. It wasn't just a little bit, there was so much. The feeding of the 5,000. In fact, it says in John chapter 6, it says, then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish. And they all ate as much as they wanted. See? As much as they wanted. It wasn't, here, you get a little slice, this big. It's going to last you. That's the whole story is about abundance. So many times it's about faith, and it's about how God can do a miracle in the midst of things, and He can stretch, and He can make... But I'm sorry, that story is a great story about the abundance of God's grace. They ate as much as they wanted. And then Jesus replied, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. That is abundance. Never to be hungry again. Never to be thirsty again. It's abundance. And we also realize that this cup that we're drinking from when we accept it, it is a foretaste of what is to come. In Luke chapter 22, Jesus said, I have been very eager to eat this Passover meal with you before my suffering begins. For I tell you now that I won't eat this meal again until its meaning is fulfilled in the kingdom of heaven. And just as my Father has granted me a kingdom, I now grant you the right to eat and drink at my table in the kingdom. That's what this symbolizes as well. And I'm sorry, heaven's not going to be stingy. I mean, you're talking about pearly gates and golden streets. I'm sorry. That's not stingy. That is abundance. There's nothing stingy about what's to come. But so many times we do this act of communion. We accept this cup. We do these things. And I understand, size-wise, churches, the fundamentals of everything, why we have to do communion sometimes the way that we do. But we get this little piece of cracker. And I'm sorry, sometimes that little piece of cracker gets stuck back, and I get stuck, and I can't get it out. And I'm going, yeah, I really enjoyed that, didn't I? And I get this little cup of grape juice to wash it down in. And I'm going, that just, again, does not scream abundance to me. That does not scream what God wants us to experience. I heard a pastor one time sit there and say, you know, I would love to do communion where it's just abundance. Not the stingy little cup. Not the little piece of cracker. Because this pastor is pastoring a very large church. He says, I just don't have many other options. This morning we do. And so I know this is going to be a little different. We're going to participate in communion this morning. And it's going to, I know I keep saying that, I've said it over and over again, I keep saying, well, things are going to be really things a little differently. I understand, we are going to do things a little differently here this morning. And it may look a little odd, it may seem a little different, it may seem a little bit weird, but I want you to understand and think about the mindset of abundance here this morning. I want you to think as we participate and we partake in God's cup here this morning, His meal, that it's not stingy. That He's not going to just give us a little bit of Himself. He's going to give us the whole thing if we want it. He's going to be with us. Not just a little bit, but all the way with us. And so this morning, we're going to invite you guys to come forward here in just a second. And instead of a little itty bitty cup of juice, you're going to get a whole bottle of juice. And instead of a little itty bitty cracker, you're going to get a whole loaf of bread. Wow. This is about abundance here this morning. This is about accepting the abundance and recognizing the abundance of God here this morning. So this morning when we partake and we participate, I want you to understand what you are partaking in, what you are drinking from. That yes, there's going to be some sorrow, because remember, this represents a cup of blood. But oh my goodness, the abundance of the joy that can come along with it at the same time. So this morning as you come forward, and you will be handed a loaf of bread and a bottle of juice. Just, if you want to, go back to your seat. You didn't come to the altar. And then we are going to participate in communion together as one body together, lifting the cup, partaking in it, breaking the bread together. I want you to feel us breaking the bread, tearing that bread here this morning. Because as we go through this, I think there's some things we need to remember, and we need to ask ourselves, when was the last time that you held your cup? Truly held your cup? When was the last time that you lifted your cup to either accept God's mission on your life or to invite others? When was the last time you fully drank from that cup? We fully drank from it for that truly full and intimate experience with God. When was the last time you felt God's full abundance in your life? As we sing this morning, as I said, I welcome you to come forward, to receive your elements, even though they look a little different. Receive your elements. And then again, you are welcome you to come to the altars, go back to your normal seat, and we will do this together as one body here this morning.
Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Holy, holy is He. Sing a new song to Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Holy, holy is He. Sing a new song to Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Open rainbows of a living color, flashes of lightning, bolts of thunder. Blessing and honor, strength and glory and power be to you, the only wise King. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Filled with wonder, awestruck wonder, at the mention of your name. Jesus, your name is power, breath and living water, such a marvelous mystery. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you.
Sit here and we hold this bread in our hands. We can only imagine, and it said, imagine that picture of Christ in that upper room, there, that last night for Passover. And I think there's something powerful about being able to tear the bread, to be able to break the bread. Because, this symbolizes his body, this symbolizes it being torn and broken for us. So this morning, you partake as much of it as you want. You just want a little nibble, that's fine. You want a big old piece of it? Grab off a big old chunk of it if you want to. But there's more. You get a little piece and you want another piece, come back for some more. God's not saying this is a one-time thing only. So this morning, as we do, as Christ tore the bread, may we tear the bread this morning. And as he tore it, and as he passed it, and he said, this is my body. It's broken for you. It's ripped. It's got holes in it. Because there's an unbelievable gift inside. So this morning, may we partake just as he partook, as he broke his body for us. May we do this in remembrance of him. And now as we hold, I know it's not a cup, but we're going to imagine it being a cup here this morning. And as we're going to sing, as we hold it in our hands, and we realize what this means, we realize that this cup, what it represents, this cup of sorrow, the cup of bitterness, the cup of joy, the cup of life. Let's just take a moment. Maybe we just sit with the cup, holding the cup for just a minute. Now, as we all know, that just as Christ, we can imagine him in that upper room, and they passed that cup. But the cup was an invitation. Christ was going, I'm drinking from this. This is what I'm called to. You are called to the same way of life. It's going to look different. It's going to be a little different for each of us. It's going to all involve those moments, those highs and those lows, those mountains and valleys. And he's saying, I want you to be on this journey with me. I want to intimately know you here this morning. So as we drink from, get prepared to drink from this cup, may we remember what it is that God is inviting us to, and that we are accepting an intimate relationship with him. Not a relationship as a stranger, but a relationship that's deeper and more profound than anything we can ever experience. And God wants that with us this morning. He's inviting us to it. And as we drink from this cup, we are accepting that invitation, no matter what it may bring, no matter what it may look like. We are saying, God, I accept your invitation. I accept your intimacy. accept your covenant here this morning. And I drink deeply, fully from this cup here this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, as we have come before you this morning, Lord, as we have held our cup, Lord, as we have reflected on what it means, what it stands for, Lord, we recognize, we acknowledge, we understand. And Lord, just as you lift your cup up, inviting us to drink from the same cup, may we do the same for the world. May we leave this place this morning. May we take your cup with us. May we lift it up to the world. May we invite the world into an intimate relationship with us, just as you have invited us into an intimate relationship. May we share our ups. May we share our down. May it be a full and intimate life that may be filled with bitterness at times, that may be filled with sorrow at times. But Lord, you promised that there it will be filled with joy and hope as well. So this morning, as we leave here this morning, may we firmly plant our feet in the ground. May we firmly hold our heads held high. And may we take this world on, planted in what we know to be true, and with a heart like yours. May we take this world on, not scared, not timid, not so afraid of what's going to happen. But take this world on with a heart that says, I have the ultimate one beside me. The one who drank from this cup first and foremost. The one that will be with me even in the shadows, in the valleys. May we not be scared, Lord, of what you have for us. May we not timidly drink from this cup this morning, but Lord, may we fully embrace it at the same time. Fully embrace the calling that you have on our lives, or what you want us to be able to do. Because Lord, you're not sending us out into the world on our own. You are going with us. You have empowered us, Lord. You have given us the tools and the resources that we need. So may we leave here this morning and boldly declare to this world that is such desperate need of you, that is in such chaos, that is in such hurt. May we go out into this world and share this abundant grace, this abundant love with this world. May we not be stingy with this world, with that which you have been abundant to us with. May our lives just ooze your grace and your love. Lord, we commit these things to you today. Lord, we honor you with these things today. Lord, and may we go from this place, and may we live a life that represents the cup. That truly represents this cup. Lord, we love you. We thank you. And Lord, just as James and John, just as all 12 disciples raised their hands and said, I will drink from that cup. May we drink from that cup here this morning. Lord, you're gracious, loving,